numbers are fascinating for so many reasons, and like astrology, go back in our consciousness and our mysteries as far back as anyone remembers. Numerology is how we study the mysticism of numbers, and some people claim they can read our character and future by means of numerology. The most accomplished numerologist in South Africa is, of course, Sandy Smith, and I was so delighted to get a chance to talk to her this week. Firstly, Sandy, welcome to the show, and I'm so happy to have you here. I've had you on my list since the very beginning of all the important people I need to speak to, because, of course, your world and my world intersect wonderfully. But the great thing for me is that you know a whole bunch of stuff about something that I know very little about, but I really kind of wish that I did. And that's, of course, numerology.
Well, thank you for having me after all this time. But, time, when it's meant to happen, it's meant to happen. So here we are.
Well, I've been waiting to get to the point where the political situation reached a crisis point so that we could have some interesting news and information from you and see what you think about all of that. But before we get to talking about predictions and those kind of things, I want to just ask you a little bit about numerology itself.
Okay.
So my fragmentary kind of potted knowledge is that it comes all the way back from Pythagoras, or probably earlier than that, somewhere way back in the past.
Right. I think, and I'll say this respectfully, I think Pythagoras was a little bit overrated. I think what he did, he just kind of, it's like what Linda Goodman did and turned it into horror scopes, the proper astrology. Yes, it goes way, 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 way back. And I've done a lot of research of where numbers physically began and writing physically began. And I think that numerology has got a strong origin in China, because China is just a place where it was always open and available.
And it's much older culture than most.
100%. A lot of the Greek is the Greek, and the Greeks invented everything. It's absolute nonsense. But anyway, so when you get to my system is when I was kind of at a turning point, which I think we all have that. I think we have two major turning points in our life, and I was kind of lost. I'd lost myself in other people's lives. I was in the music business, and I needed to find me. And so I was given an appointment with a very famous psychic in the day called Fifi. And she was brilliant, because what I didn't realize, and only a year later when I listened to the recording, did she say to me, I don't know why you are here, because you do what I do, but you just do it differently. And I never heard that. But when I re-listened to the tape, by that stage, I was already studying astrology, but I had gone through all the numerology books, and I kept seeing how they made, if you and I were born on the same day, then you and I were the same, and that's not possible. Right. So my mother then gave me a family tree book, and out of that I started my formula, and I started doing a lot of research. And what I've done is I've taken numerology and I've made it today. So I can separate you from your twin born on the same day. A lot of numerologists in the books, I bought over about 400 books. It was just another writer writing in their interpretation the same thing. And it was so frustrating. So in developing my system, I wanted to so find me, and I'd so lost me, so I needed to actually reinvent me or just purge out what it is that I am. But I looked at it through the eyes of other people. And so now I've been doing this now for over 25 years now, and I never stop learning, as you never stop learning, I'm sure, with the astrology. But what is so important in my system is your name is the map of your life. So if you change your name in the course of your life, you will never live that out. You will live what was first on your first registered birth certificate.
Right. Just like how astrology says, how you're born is how you're born. Sorry for you no matter what else you do.
100%. Your name, every letter in your name defines a time in your life and will define what is happening in your life. So you can go all the way from your birth, schooling, problems in family, if you go to jail, if you win the lotto, if you start a business,
right.
if you become a president, all the way through to your death. Your date of birth now, in conjunction, tells you every day how you will wake up with this collection of numbers and how you will walk in your day and how you will do your day. And what defines you from everybody else is you will never have the person with the same name and the same birth date, born in the same year, and then we get to astrology at the same time.
Right. So then my question is also then what even we are asked as astrologers, and then is where is the room for free will in that?
Oh, the free will is there. I can never make you do what I say you should. So let's say you are artistic and creative. So there's many ways. Could this be how you lay a table, how you do flowers, or is it the interior decorator, or is it fashion, or is this designing hats or shoes, or drawing, or writing, or painting? Creativity is a very big word. We travel in 9-year cycles, so every 9 years we can experience 2 numbers. So you will experience every single number.
Right.
And you have the opportunity that in let's say you've got no 3s, that when you are in a 3-year, that you actually now become this creative person. In your name and your date of birth, the minute you put the 2 together, there you have this picture. And then every year from your birthday to birthday, which is your year, you change and you have cycles, but they repeat every 9 years. If you don't have a number, you will still experience it.
Right. So that's amazing. So obviously it's a lot richer than most people suspect, just by a simple number for a name or a date or something like that.
And I think what is really, really important, the essence of numerology is, if you are going out to buy a house, no partners, no other influences, your house, your stamp number, your house number will be your numbers. Yeah. Your car, the office, what floor you're on. And it's critical because if you are in tune with a country and you are in line with their 2 numbers that they're having that year, if there's something critical happens like September 11th, you will be affected.
And I'm kind of assuming or guessing that part of the reason for this, in the same way that mathematicians and physicists can describe the entire cosmos numerically, numerology is just a different model of that.
It's just that they don't want to accept it. But it's interesting in my system because it can tell you your health issues, it can tell you your education issues, it can so define in times when you will have a major car accident.
Right. And so you have made major predictions, often on a political scale. Astrology is nightmare. How's that for numerology? How?
I just love it. It's so awesome because it's like I can take the underpants off. I can see everything. That's quite crude.
It's not crude, but it's too much of an image for me when I think of some of the politicians.
Okay, so what is so interesting is, I made a statement that from September last year, things would start on Zuma, and many people read that was going to be it.
Right.
And I said, no. I said, that's the start. This is the beginning of the end. The script has been written. He's now just going to act out the movie.
So then, since you started right at the top, what is that movie? It's the question that people always ask me is, when is Zuma going to leave or be thrown out, whatever. What do you think about Zuma?
Okay, first of all, Zuma's a 5 life path, so he has no conscience whatsoever. He's all about money, all about power. He's so defiant because he's got double sevens, which says, don't tell me to leave. I will leave when I am ready, you see. So what is interesting is that in his defiance, he's actually tempting his own fate. So what we've got here is that from his birthdays on the 12th of April, 1942, and he is going into a year, and normally when it's about 2 and a bit months before your birthday that your new numbers start to come into play. And his age is going to add to a 4, which says that he will be repositioned. Okay. So and when your age adds to a 3 is actually where there's restructuring that's starting to happen. It takes 6 months. So if we go October, which is now coming, October the 12th would be his midpoint, is actually the start of him getting into this whole restructuring of himself. Mm-hmm. So that you've got other influences of the ANC making their decisions, and then in September of what we've been happening here in October, and then December they've got their meeting. He is definitely going to go. There's no, and I mean going to go. He's either going to go or he's going. He's going. So. However, the important thing is that for his next 5 years, he's in huge detriment.
Uh-huh.
So the court, all the legal matters, etc., are going to be happening.
That's fascinating. So there is going to be kind of justice after all.
And you know what is interesting is when you are in tune with somebody. So just to jump to the Guptas, that they are so in tune that their next 3 to 4 years are in huge detriment. Huh. So I believe that they're going to get blocked. I believe that this could be where they actually seize bank accounts and I'm talking about around the world.
Right. But, so what's always been slightly fascinating to me, and what is this, does this have any relevance in numerology, is that Pravin Gordhan, of course, has the same birthday but a different year.
100%. So that is so important because I made the big statement with Business News and with CNBC, etc., is to put out a message there in a tweet, and I said, Pravin, be patient, stay focused, all will be revealed, and you are the comeback kid.
Well, that's quite encouraging because there's one more thing born on the 12th of April that you told me that I didn't know, and that's the Rand itself.
100%.
Isn't that weird?
So, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
And yet you see the Rand is, so the Rand is born on the 12th of April 1961, and the Rand is one of the most performing currencies in the past 2.5, 3 years. And it's actually in a really good year. It's actually making its own money. Its age adds to an 11, so there's a lot of backwards and forwards and wavering, etc. But the Rand is productive. If you are exporting or importing, then you've gotten a complaint either way when the Rand is good or the Rand is bad. There's no happy medium. But the Rand is a great currency because I'm looking at the dollar and I'm looking at the euro. I think the euro is in big trouble.
Well, it's beginning to sound better and better. Before I ask you the next question, I want to confirm whether that holds true for like the number of the year itself, getting away from those individuals, say this year compared to next year.
Okay, so 2017 adds to a 1. And whenever it's a 1 year, gold is good. Mm-hmm. Whenever it's a 1 year, it's a detriment year for people born with an an 8 life path and or a 1 life path. But it is the year that gold is a performer. And it's got another whole year to perform. So when you've got a 1 year, and the one word that I'm going to say is fortune. So it's a year of fortune or misfortune. So this is where we start looking at the Guptas, we start looking at KPMG, and you start looking at Bell Pottinger. This is about fortune or misfortune.
What about 2018?
Okay, so now that adds to an 11, and that 11, which is a power number, then adds to a 2.
Right.
So 11 is, when it does and plays with its 11, it creates make and break situations, and there's a massive, massive build-up to earthquakes. You're going to have where there's going to be excess water, and in places there's going to be much less water. Then you look at America, they're born on the 4th of the 7th, and 4 and 7 adds to an 11. So the impact for them, although they won't be in 11 year, the impact of the year has a critical effect on them. Mm-hmm. South Africa, born on the 31st of May 1961, we go into an 11 year in May of next year. Funny enough, the ANC go into an 11 year. So globally, 2018 means 1 + 1 = 2. So it says, how do we join hands? How can we work together? How can we serve? Because 11 is about the masses. How can we uplift? How can we be socially responsible? But then when you've got 11s, it has an impact.
So it sounds like it's kind of, in many ways, an escalation of the intensity of this year, but we're seeing results and even action.
And bigger impact.
You're talking about 2018. For us South Africans, what takes us there is the ANC elective conference. Any thoughts on where that's going to end up? Who's going to be their president?
Okay, well, first of all, the ANC is born on the 8th of January 1912. They are in a personal 1 year, which is about fortune or misfortune. In January, they go to an 11. So there's a split in the ANC. We know that there's already 2 sides, but there's not been the physical annunciation of it is going to happen. There's going to be a massive split with the ANC. South Africa goes into 11. So what we've got to be watching there, I think there's going to be a lot more strikes. There's going to be a lot of legal action, and 11, because it's about the masses and about the world, we will be on the stage.
Mm-hmm. So the whole world's watching us. Who are they watching? Are they watching Dlamini Zuma or Ramaphosa or somebody else in charge of the ANC?
Well, you see, the thing is what an 11 does, because the 2, it starts to formulate partners and partnerships and investors and deals and brokering. And so in the ANC, for me, that as you get this split and this divide, I think the ANC, unfortunately, there are 4 life paths. So we get to 2019, and 2019 adds to a 3. They'll be in a 3-8. They're going to their 4-9 in 2020, which means that they are in such deep depression that they have to reinvent themselves. And this could be the end of the old. So when you've got a 4 life path, a lot of people have this terrible fear about the number 4 because it is about the word death. It's actually about the word endings. So for me, the ANC is over completely. It's done, and for me, it's done and dusted. They will not be in power again. I think there's going to be a collective that will be in power.
And so that potentially involves 2 other important South African leaders, Mmusi Maimane and Julius Malema.
Oh, okay. So Malema, he's in his life path right now, so he's quite lost as a human being. I'm not talking about, he puts on the chameleon coat when he goes out onto the world stage, and he becomes what you want him to be, okay? He is going to reinvent himself because as of his birthday next year, he's stepping out. But I believe in 2019 he's in a coalition. So I think that the EFF will try to join with another party. So if we look at, let's just see here, at Musi Maimane, he's born on the 6th of the 6th. So it's interesting that he's going to have problems, hey? It's 2019.
No.
But if we look at the DA is going to be in a really, really good year in 2019. I don't see the DA as the party that is going to be the only party running the country,
right,
for example. So I wonder how his position is a little bit of a shift, but I'm not sure if it's a positive shift.
So there are changes, and I think the bigger picture perhaps that we're both seeing, but certainly from what you're saying, is that there's a lot of leadership change in this country, happening initially in the ruling party, and then perhaps, hopefully and optimistically, as things are kind of sorting themselves out, improving even through the pain, 2019 starts demanding newer and better leaders everywhere. And that's our election year,
100%, because that also then brings in, I think, what South Africa keeps learning, and thank God we learn from the overseas countries. And we look at what the States, the UK, and happened in France when you don't go and vote.
Right, exactly.
Whether you are compliant in wanting a Trump or not,
yes,
and you go, well, what's the point? Well, there is a point, because you either have that nonsense.
yes,
I mean, so the trouble that's coming there is absolutely huge.
yeah,
And the one thing we have to learn from them, that unfortunately in 2019, we normally go to vote around April, May, and we're already going into the threes. So we go back to looking at the picture, not the energy of, but the picture of 1994. The collective is out there.
Wow.
So we're going to be celebrating and voting.
You've given us all the most amazing information, and I have to say, a bit of hope. But I do want to finish on hopefully what is not too hopeless a note, and just pick up that last question and say, as our bonus question to you, anything to say about Donald Trump? Is he going to make it all the way?
No, he's not.
He's not.
I don't see him making it all the way. The interesting thing is, I don't know. He's got that same thing of stepping down because of health issues. He has a 4-life path, and he's going into that 4-life path at his birthday next year, and he's born on the 14th of June, 1946. He's going into his worst year. And this is on a personal level. His marriage is long gone. For me, that's been finished for at least 2 years already. But something, I don't know if it's a death, his death, or is it the endings? But I don't see, in America, if we start looking at the USA, they go into a 4-year next year on the 4th of July. So there is a restructuring internally of who's running their country.
Right.
So I don't see Trump staying. Right. And I think what one needs to understand is the ricochet of what he is busy creating, and the heart attack that's going to come, that's going to ricochet over the Northern Hemisphere, is huge. It's absolutely huge. And all I can say is, we're here in the best country ever.
Aren't we just? Absolutely, aren't we just?
Oh,
wonderful. Well, how it works out for us. Sandy, it has been absolutely fascinating. We can talk much more, and I really hope we will in the future. You've given me a lot to think about, and I think you've given us all a lot of hope that actually change can be painful, but it can really eventually bring about balance.
That's why we have to vote in 2019. That's what we must make the change. There's only 5,000 of them running the country. Yeah. We've got 54 million people in this country, 44 maybe voting. We have to vote. We have to make decisions.
Well, that was fascinating, and I'm sure all eyes will be watching to see what unfolds, and of course to see Sandy back on the show in the not too distant future with more for us. We'll be back next week with another fascinating interview. A South African with the most astonishing, shocking and remarkable story, wrote a book about it, and I'll be talking to her next week. Make sure you like the Facebook page so that you know about it and that you're here next week to share with that story. Back at the usual time then, 7:30 p.m. on Cape Town TV and on YouTube from noon on Friday. See you here.